Welcome to On the Chain. I'm Chip. Where's Jeff? Jeff is on special assignment tonight. And let's talk about the SEC v. Ripple. Seems like it's going to be settling soon, right? Or is it? I've been hearing a lot of chatter out there on the Twitterverse and pretty much everywhere, even since our boy Gary said something the other day that I think everything's pointing to. Is it going to settle? Or is it going to go the distance? Also, there's a lot of stuff, another bunch of rumors heading around. We're going to get through them as well. So let's go through this. You got Chip solo tonight. You had Jeff solo last night. You guys ready to jump into this? Let's go. Let's go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
Yeah, it's always funny when you're like doing the controls and you hit the wrong switch and it happens. What are you going to do? It's live. So it's great. And if you watch it on the replay, well, then you get to enjoy the fun. But I want to go and start with everybody. Where are you coming in from tonight? What part of the world are you coming in from? Put the city, put the country, city or state or province or wherever you're coming in from. But let's find out where you guys are coming in from tonight. And then we'll jump through it. We'll start going through a little bit of that as well, but I wanted to, I kind of wanted to queue up a couple things here. Hang on a second. This is what's even funnier when you're trying to load the stuff up. There it goes. Okay, I was like, why are my stories not loading? Well, because sometimes you got to do a little bit of a refresh. And that's what we want to be able to do here, because I was like, wait a minute, these are old stories. We've already covered these. Where's everybody coming in from? Let me look here. Got John Doe here. Wait a minute. Do we have two John Does? We have two John Does in the chat. We got John Doe Crypto right here. Then we got John Doe. That's going to be ultimately confusing right there. It's going to be a lot of confusion. We have two John Does, but that's okay. John Doe Crypto says hit the likes. And guys, if you want more content like this, be sure to subscribe. And hit the like and all that stuff. It does help the channel, helps the Google algorithm, and also let you know when we drop another video. We have another channel listed down below. What we do is we take little bits and pieces of this, usually 8 to 12 minute clips, nice and easy. We package them up, and then we make them for your viewing pleasure. Now, a lot of you guys have probably already seen it, but again, sometimes you don't watch the show. But if anything, you can at least subscribe. Go ahead, click below. You can do it. Click below. And you can subscribe, and that's all we need to do. And let's jump into this in a second here. I'm trying to pull up a couple of these stories here. So, these stories are pretty fun, but let's look at this one right here. Let's go into this one. This is, so you guys know, so 50% JP Morgan, the Standard Productions, better known as one of the best parody accounts out there, XRP Productions. So they're making a little bit of a joke here that they heard 50% JP Morgan, the Standard. Huge pump for XRP tomorrow, or I reveal what percentage of XRP Productions JP Morgan owns. Well, it's already 50%. Probably added that later. And David Schwartz, better known as @JoelKatz, CTO, Chief Tech Officer of Ripple, chimed in and said, I heard they recently doubled their ownership. And that's one of the things I love about David Schwartz is that he always likes to play along. He's a funny guy. And I don't always agree with him, but I don't think you guys will always agree with me. And that's kind of how life is. You sometimes like things that you like. You dislike other things too, because we have another segment with him coming up. But I am digging this avatar a lot. That avatar is looking really nice. Look at that right there. Yeah, it's kind of looks like it looks like David Schwartz when he was up in the what was he in Iceland? Where was he? He was in the Arctic Circle somewhere. He's got the little yellow jacket on, got the little beard going on there, little specs. That's kind of a cool thing. So I wonder if that's an official David Schwartz what do you call it? One of those NFTs, but who knows? I don't know. If you guys know, throw it in there, and I'll be happy to pull it up. Sophie's in the house tonight. Good to see you, Sophie. She liked, subscribe, and tweet it out, and that's what we love. Yeah, I really appreciate that, Sophie. That's all. It always helps because someone's on the Twitters. They're on the Twitters, and they're like, hey, check it out. Oh, I think I'll pop into OTC, and that's kind of how it works. Actually, we know that's how it works because when we look at our When we look at where people come in from, there's a pretty large amount of people that come in from Twitter. So that's always appreciated big time. So when we see that, when we see people coming in, it's always a good thing. Who else do we have here? Hans Loaded, you might know him better as the guy that cuts up. He is the OTC producer that cuts up stuff for the other channel, picks it, chooses it, cuts it up, doing a great job with that. Appreciate that. That is the other YouTube channel that he dropped in there, and he's doing an amazing job there. And Crypto G's coming in from Antarctica. That's where it was. He's not coming in from there, but that's where it was. Antarctica is where David Schwartz was. And so Evil Carrot got it as well. Yeah, you guys are always on top of stuff. Reggie, good evening, ladies and gents. Crypto followers, crypto people, the world unites. Yeah, good to see everybody. And I want to jump into this one here. This one came out today, but it's interesting the kind of play that's getting, it's just madness what's going on. It's like a bandwagon's going by and everybody's sort of jumping on it. It's rolling on by and everyone starts hopping on it. That's the phrase, everybody's hopping on the bandwagon. And sometimes it goes that direction, sometimes it goes the other direction. But what you can be sure is that there seems to be something bubbling up in the XRP community. For example, let's look at this right here. Let's look at this article. This article right here, Ripple CEO says SEC has hard argument to make in the XRP lawsuit as expert testimony wraps. And this is in the dailyhodl.com. Says the SEC sued Ripple obviously in December of 2020 on the allegation the company sold XRP as an unregistered security. And you know what's funny about this whole thing? And again, Jeff and I called it from the beginning. We just said that's such a weak case. But I think what's really funny to me is how the SEC is really losing a lot of steam here. So much so, you know, Gary Gensler's not out there on everything and you know, talking about the enforcement pillars. Kind of seems like we haven't seen a lot of him lately, where he was pretty much everywhere, doing office hours, you know, out there talking about this and that. It kind of seems like, and maybe it's just me, it seems like a lower profile, but the SEC, thanks to people like, you know, DAI out there and Tag and a lot of other great interviews, Sleuths, and a lot of great YouTubers that have uncovered all kinds of stuff, namely that the SEC, JP Morgan, all this stuff starting to tie together, and there's overwhelming evidence, especially not very good looks when it comes to Hinman, Clayton, and let's just say their origin law firms. There's just so much going on about that, and I'm just amazed at how this is playing out. It really is, you know, and I forgot who put it out there the other day. Someone said, we've got to crowdfund a movie. I think it was Mark Phillips. Yeah, Mark Phillips put out a tweet the other day, and he was basically saying that, you know, what we have to do is we have to put this out to be a movie made. Like, who's going to play Hinman? Who's going to play John Deaton? I don't know, man. Maybe Travolta. I've seen a couple of these where you got John Travolta on one side, and on the other side you got John Deaton from one of his roles, and it's like, yeah, I could kind of see that. Although John Deaton's a younger guy, so I'm not sure how that would work, but you never know. You never know how that's going to work. It's what's Red saying there? Chip is back in solo. Yeah, I am back and I am solo. Yeah, last night I had a lot of family came in unexpected. Well, it was expected, but it was like a day's notice, so I had a really great time with that, and we did some fun stuff. So that's why I was out. Jeff is on special assignment. That's why he is out. So let's jump back into this article right here. Ooh, let's make it a little bit bigger. Here we go. So it says in a new interview on Fox, which we watched here, Garlinghouse says the SEC originally had no problems with the issuance of XRP, but changed its mind. And the irony is, and this is one of the things that Jeff and I talked about when that video played, is that the music, I think somebody stepped on it. And I say stepped on it, somebody was talking at the time, or it was on the outro where the music started playing. It was kind of like glanced over a little bit. But Garlinghouse said the irony there is we were in the SEC's office. Now imagine this. Imagine, if you will, picture the scene. Picture the scene, if you will. Brad Garlinghouse in the SEC's office. Did the SEC invite him? Probably not. They probably reached out and said, hey, we'd like to come in. I'd like to have a little chat, a little chatty poo, just a little bit of chat between us. Let's have a chat. They go into the office. They're chatting up a storm. And they're in the SEC's office, and Garlinghouse goes on to say here that, the controls, Chip. I met with Chairman Clayton. Okay, check. He had no problems with the issuance of XRP, but apparently changed his mind in hindsight. So this is a kind of weird thing. So how do you reckon this and reason this with logic in a court of law? So you're going to say like, well, here's the date we were there. Here's our notes from the meeting. Yeah, we were actually there. We showed up. We were hanging out. Never said a word about it. Never said, and this happened multiple times. Never said, well, geez, we're pretty concerned XRP security. Nothing. Zip. Nothing. Zippo. Zilch. Nada. There was nothing going on about that. And that's always kind of a weird sort of a thing there. It says, giving an update on the state of the lawsuit, Garlinghouse said there could be some decisions from the court made in the near future. Monday, the last day of expert testimony, expert depositions, case continued to move forward. Expecting decisions from the court sooner rather than later as it relates to a couple of decisions before the court. So is it just me? And let me ask this of you guys. Let me just put this out there. Is it me? Does Brad Garlinghouse seem to have a little more pep in his step? What I mean by that, and he seems like he's just got a little bit more, I don't know, bravado maybe. Maybe he's just a little bit more. He's always been a very confident CEO. And again, you can be pretty confident when you go through the last 2 years and you continue to grow the organization. And then you go ahead and do a buyback. And then your buyback is at a $15 billion valuation. And the last time we heard about it was $10 billion. So is there something going on there? Am I reading into this too much? And maybe I am. And who knows? Who knows? Maybe I am. But getting back to this, he says, look, it moves slowly. I think Gary Gensler's continue to go with the narrative that crypto is the Wild West. It's not the Wild West. Are there bad actors? Yeah, there's bad actors. Now, the reason I wanted to step through this, because even though the interview is short and we heard it, there's a lot of stuff to really look at here. When he talks about, Gensler's going with the narrative about the Wild West, but who else talks about the Wild West? Is there somebody else out there in Congress? If I'm not mistaken, I think we've heard other people in Congress call it the Wild West too. Maybe the Shermanator out in California, maybe Senator Elizabeth Warren. They seem to be lockstep in that whole thing with the Wild West. Meanwhile, the real Wild West, there's too many things you could label the Wild West, right? That the Wild West was kind of self-serving law. You go into a town, you could shoot it up, and maybe have one or two people to deal with. That's the Wild West. There was really no rules. And it changed from city to city, and it was kind of I wouldn't call it total chaos, but sometimes it was. I don't think the crypto's that at all. And the thing is, it's amazing how we keep hearing about story after story about how magically somebody stole a bunch of Bitcoin or whatever, but how do they track them down? How do they find the wallet? Well, because it's on a public blockchain. Number one, the everything is basically on the blockchain. So, but no, they talk about that. You have AML, KYC, all this stuff going on, but they still have to, continue on with their narrative, which is the Wild West. And that's not really playing. We're way past the Silk Road days, right? Ripple's CEO says he sees a lack of knowledge on how crypto really works coming from regulators and officials in Washington. And, if I wanted to pick a beef with that, we see that on so many fronts. Obviously, we care deeply about crypto, but I think we're seeing it on a lot of fronts where they're just not educated. It almost just seems like maybe technology moved a little bit too quick, but there's a lot of things where they just keep the blinders on, that those horses wear, and they just continue moving forward. And on that note, I don't quite see it. He says, according to Garlinghouse, the lack of understanding from lawmakers putting responsible companies in the crypto industry as a disadvantage to others. He went on to say, I think it does a disservice to responsible actors like Ripple who are working with governments with sanctions. Everything that's enforced from a sanction point of view through fiat currency, anything that Ripple does is enforced in the state the exact same way. No difference, no different level playing field. In some ways, I heard Senator Warren saying things like she felt holding crypto was a different standard. For example, expecting a blanket ban of all crypto in some of these countries. Well, can you still use PayPal? You can still use some of the other things, but I don't think we should treat them differently. And of course, there's the interview right there. We played this last week, but I thought that was important to more or less revisit just because there's a lot of things that I just felt like were just really important. Again, it was a shorter interview than I would have liked a lot more questions. I thought Charlie Gasparino and Liz Clayman did a great job on that interview, although it just seemed really short to me, or it just didn't seem to be, you have someone like Brad Garlinghouse, CEO of Ripple, I think it should go on. Sometimes these segments they go on for a long time. You're like, well, I don't really care about that. But the way the news media works, everyone has a short attention span. Usually a 3 to 4 minute spot is what you get. Sometimes it's shorter than that. It's not like a talk show where you talk to somebody maybe 8 minutes, 6 to 8 minutes, but you're constantly having to move it in case it's something you don't like or topic, so you'll continue to watch the show. And what I wanted to get to is some of these other stories out there that have to do with, let's see, okay, that's a good one too. Actually, Ripple posted something pretty interesting today. We'll jump into that. But let's look at this here. This is another tweet here from none other than Jeremy Hogan. And he put this one out. Let's go take a look at this one. When will Ripple v. SEC case end? Ripple thinks it'll end sometime between August 26th and November 18th. In a pending class action, Ripple agreed to move the case, start back to November 18th, and believe that the SEC case will be finished before then. Of course, they can cancel at any time. And then this is what we're looking at right here. There's a class certification motion right there. Let's see, calling attention to this paragraph. Due to factual legal issues between the case and the SEC action, the parties agree there are efficiencies in having certain aspects of the SEC action proceed in certain deadlines in the action. Doing so will reduce the burden on the parties, streamline discovery, and potentially reduce the burden on the court by narrowing issues in the dispute. But the funny part about it is it's almost like there's two people here, like there's two actors, and one of them no, it's like you have one party who's going after another party alleging a lot of stuff happened when really didn't. I mean, especially when you look at Garlinghouse and Larson, good luck. I mean, go ahead and prove it. I mean, so usually a dispute, people are arguing over two things. No, Ripple is setting their mind in its own business. Along came this lawsuit that basically got dropped on them. So that's kind of a little bit of a different story right there. And let's go in here. And it says, thanks for showing the court order to me. It makes me feel confident in my September summary judgment prediction. I think Ripple thinks it wins the SEC case in September, October. And then this class action goes away to collateral estoppel. So that's his take. What does Jungle say? Gary did claim he's ready to take a loss. Yeah, we'll jump into that too. Maybe Ripple will take him up on that offer. Yeah, that's off. I also find that very odd. Why is all of a sudden Mr. Enforcement Pillar, who loves to talk about enforcement and everything else, there's so much going on. We got to, he only talks about one prong of the Howey test, common enterprise. That's all he ever talks about. That's all he ever chats about. And for some reason, he acts like there's only one part of it. Let me look through the chat here, see if there's anything interesting to go into. Let's see. Yeah, this is interesting too. Yeah, I saw this today, Jim D. This is pretty interesting too. You've got the Rothschilds are lecturing the UK with stern letters to show active military action to stop Russia from blowing up the banking system. Yeah, there's a little bit of panic going on there for a lot of different reasons. So I saw that letter. And it's like just out of nowhere, like just mass panic about Ukraine. So what else we have in here? Who else is talking? I'd be curious. Good comments here. I can't show them all. Let's see what else we have here. What is XRP Safu to the moon? There we go. Yeah, this is another thing that cropped up, and I debated whether or not we jump into this or not. But Jim D, we have a possible new issue now that China is using XRPL services, and that's because their state-run UnionPay is a Ripple partner. So that's, I think, what you're alluding to there, Jim. Services for debt. Yeah, exactly. So we'll have to see how that pans out. And again, it's a lot of. I mean, it's probably going to happen. There might be some speculation on the part, but it's kind of hard to know exactly. Yeah, here we go right here. And here's the Explorer says they figured that if they can't stop them, then they're justified in rolling over us. Only God can stop them. because they don't respond to shame. But I'll tell you what's happening is that the unification that's happening, I think, worldwide. I think maybe if you look back, at least maybe 5, 10 years, maybe 20 years ago, we always we heard about the word globalism, but globalism in a sense of like in a different sort of sense. But I think what's happening today because of cryptocurrency, because it's bringing people together, I do find that I feel like there's more unification going on than not. It's about everything. It's about our freedom, because we got a freedom segment coming up here, which we'll dive into. I want to get your opinions on this one too, but based on freedoms, and it's not freedom of just of the ability to be investors and invest what we want. It's not like, hey, look, all right, we're adults, can we make our money, right? We take money, we work for money, however we end up with the value of in your fiat currency. Why don't we have the right to be able to invest that the way we see fit? And it's like, well, are we real? Is somebody really that interested in protecting us from ourselves? Because it's weird, you go to Vegas, there's a lot of people that are getting really drunk, smoking cigarettes and cigars on those machines, losing everything. Weird. Doesn't seem like anyone's protecting them from themselves. They can go to an ATM machine, pull out everything, put it all down on a blackjack table, bet it all on red or black, and there's really nobody concerned about that. It's like, oh, okay, are those just the misfits? No, there's a lot of high rollers that go there too. They go up, they go down. But this notion that somebody's looking out for us, that the SEC really has our best interest because, those people really don't know how to invest. And God, should we save them from themselves if they want to invest in something because they saw an opportunity? If you want to invest in the stock market, is there somebody worried so much that you might blow it on a bunch of penny stocks? Anybody that got that concern? So this is where this argument really falls apart for me, because I don't necessarily see that there's anything of any value that doesn't fall apart in this whole scenario. Let's look at some other tweets here. Let me see. Yeah, I wanted to get into that one as well. No, we'll jump into this one here. Let's look at this here. Did I not just pull that up? What is going on with my notes tonight? Okay, there we go. Sorry, guys, a little bit of struggle here tonight with the stuff here. I wanted to throw this out here. For some reason, why are these stories showing up in a weird sort of a way? I just do not know. Okay, so yeah, there's some interesting stuff. So, Matt Hamilton, who's been on the show, I find this really interesting. Yeah, let's look at this. Let's drill down on this. So Matt, he pops in here every once in a while too, works for RippleX, and does live streams every week. I think he does one tomorrow, Tuesdays or Wednesdays. I usually try to listen in a little bit to those, and they're on Twitch, which is pretty cool. But I thought this is pretty interesting right here. This is so Matt Hamilton says, my colleague Boris's uncle and cousin are in Ukraine now distributing food and supplies. Boris has set up an XRP address for donations. Any amount is helpful. Even a few XRP will get some water. And this is Boris Simo on Twitter, and this is what Matt was pointing out. He said, help donate the cause in Ukraine. Cousin and uncle are in the territorial defense of Kharkiv. They're tasked with procuring food and supplies for civilian population hiding in basements and metros. And then here's the wallet for XRP. Let me go ahead and view this in the reader here. And although a number of charities are raising donation, it takes a week for funds or supplies to reach Kharkiv. Now, if you think about that, so here's another use case, right? You've got people suffering, they need food, they need water. Maybe they're in a more active type of a site. Imagine it takes a week to get some supplies over there, right? I mean, think about how hungry you might be in a week. It takes a long time. And that's in Kharkiv. So if you feel inclined to do so, please donate. The funds will immediately go to helping people in Kharkiv. Bottle of water on the ground, 40 cents. Every XRP help counts. And then here are some videos posted of the work done so far. Of course, we're just going to be able to watch it a little bit. But there you go. There's a lot of the food and supplies that they have. They have water. It looks like they have a bag of rice, boxes of other supplies, dry food, diapers for babies. And what's interesting is this looks like where it's being housed almost It looks like the floor was even damaged, or it's just an old pitted warehouse. It's hard to tell exactly what's going on there. But yeah, a lot of water. You can see all the water there. So it does look to be a little bit of a stress there. And then glory to Ukraine, glory to heroes. And here they are right there. You can see that they're distributing the food. But again, this is like another use case really for XRP. It's not its primary use case, but imagine that if we were all to send, 5 or 10 XRP right now, they'd have it 5 seconds from now, so that they could actually do something with it. So I found that to be pretty interesting. Big shout out to Matt Hamilton for putting that on a radar. But I just think that, it's if you think about fundraising, if you think about getting something, especially someplace, of value someplace quick, XRP is really the one to do it. I just can't imagine it's taking a week to get supplies out there. It seems a little bit on the crazy side. He is Uncle Purvis Pervy. That's there you go. I looked up December 2020. That was Crypto G. Not there anymore. What are we talking about there, One-Eyed Willie? But we need to know what you're talking about. Yeah, how do we trust if it's legit, not just scammers taking huge profits off the top, like other times during other disasters? Let's put it that way. And that's always something that it's always a little bit difficult, right? Everybody has a good heart. Everybody wants to help somebody out. All of a sudden, you find out there's someone in need, and I mean, the pictures are here. Fair enough. And the fact is that Matt Hamilton is tweeting out about a colleague of his uncle and cousin are there. So it's kind of tied to somebody we do know and is legit. But I think it's always going to be there, that you're always wondering, hey, how do I know? And I don't know if you ever do. I mean, anymore you can watch video because there's a lot of information coming out, videos. It's like, check out this video, this building up bomb. And you find out somebody did a little bit of snooping around, and you find out, well, that was 3 years ago in a different country. So yeah, that happens. So I wanted to throw this up here.
Okay.
I want to put this up again because something we talked about a little bit earlier, but I want to throw this up here. And reason being is I want to listen to this one more time. And the idea behind this is Jon Stewart. He has a new show called Extremely Worried. No, but that's just how his face looks right there. But the show is actually called The Problem. And I'm like, I don't know. Got a lot of problems going on. I'm not sure I want to focus on something called The Problem. But I did, to be honest with you, I was a huge Jon Stewart fan when I was younger, and he was a stand-up comedian. I found him to be really funny. But there's something weird about comedians where they're really funny at some point, and then sometimes they get not funny. And if you look at the president of Ukraine, he's a former comedian. And there's some videos of him out there dancing around, acting a little bit on the strange side, in some weird outfits and stuff. And you're like, wait a minute, that's the president, that's Zelensky, that's the president of Ukraine. But it's always like we always go through, multiple worlds, lives, right? So you start off, you were doing this when you were, in high school. Then in your 20s, you did this. Then in your 30s, you keep reinventing yourself. And although I found a lot of his, stuff he did on the Daily Show, it's going to be interesting to see how it goes, because I don't know if he's getting into more serious interviews. But this one right here, let's listen to this, because this is Gary Gensler. And this is what's really weird. Ever since this kind of broke and came out as something was tweeted out, this video, check this out. Let's listen in. And if you guys don't hear sound, please let me know, because you should hear sound. But here we go.
To litigate. This agency has to be willing to go into court and, take some losses from time to time. But go into court.
Right.
I think all of those things, but it's trying to use high-profile cases to bring folks back on the right side of the line.
Okay, so let's break this down. He's like, yeah, we got to go into court. Jon Stewart's like, right. Well, not necessarily right. I mean, you don't have to go into court. And, let's listen to this one more time.
To litigate. This agency has to be willing to go into court and, take some losses from.
Now, why is Gary Gensler all of a sudden talking about taking some losses? This is a guy that's talking about the pillar of enforcement. Listen, if you're a crypto company out there, come in, talk to us. And if you're lucky, like Coinbase was, and you went in there and talked to them, you get a Wells notice, which is a notice of a future enforcement, right? Come in, talk to us. Now all of a sudden the narrative is we got to be willing to go into court. John Stewart, got to be willing to take some losses. What? Wait a minute. Hold up. Gary Gensler, the enforcer, top cop on the beat, is talking about you have to be willing to go into court and take some losses. This is mind-boggling to me. I got to be honest with you. He's willing to go into court, and then Stewart's like, yep, you got to be willing to go into court. Got to be willing to take some losses.
Time to time.
Time to time. Let's see how many big things they have going on right now. Well, I can only think of one, the case of the century, the Ripple v, or I should say the SEC v. Ripple, and then we also have the library case too. But what's interesting about the library case is that, and this right here, it might be really telling, but in the library case, LRBY, by the way, all of our videos are out there on library, which is called Odysee right now. Let me see, I'll pull it up so you guys can see it. Let me see if I can pull it up. But anyway, we're talking. So I just find this whole thing, it's just like the timing of the whole thing seems very, very strange. I don't know. Odysee.com. Here we go. Let me just throw this up here so we can kind of like look at this. There it is right there. That's Odysee. Now, if we were to go check it out, and we were going to go to look at on, in a second, let's look at around the chain. There we go. There it is right there. Boom. So there it is right there. You can tell we don't have a lot of followers over there, but hey, almost 1,000. And everything that you see on this channel automatically goes over to Odysee. Now, what's interesting about Odysee, this is library that I talked about. Let me go ahead and make it a little bit bigger so you guys can see it here. But what I'm talking about when it comes to library is it's a decentralized platform, and they also use tokens as well. So if you kind of come here, it looks a little bit different, but again, it's let's see here. It's going to go ahead and play. Of course, we're not going to listen to it, but there's Jeff from last night, and all the same stuff you see over on YouTube, or if you follow our podcast, you got the exact link to it, your claim ID. Then there's a way we can go in there, and people can, the same way you would do a super chat, there's also a way to contribute their token as well, which is pretty cool. And but I love the fact that all of our stuff is over there. You can click support, and let's see, sync my YouTube channel. No, we've already done this. So, well, but there's a way you can see a little bit of this. And look, Jeff's right there. It's right above me. See that? It's right there, smiling. But that's what I like about this too. It puts it into like a little smaller little viewer right there. But everything we upload to this channel automatically over on this channel here. And what I was getting into was the fact that in that case, again, the SECV library, LRBY, they also went with the fair notice defense. And what's really strange is the SEC didn't do anything. They didn't try to squash it. They didn't try to shut it down. They did nothing. But what they seem to be doing in that case too is doing a lot of delay, almost like pushing that case off, because the Ripple case is the only case that matters. And in the side of all of crypto, and again, people we say this so many times till Jeff and I are like blue in the face, but this case is significant for all of crypto. I don't care what you like, a Bitcoin, some meme coin, it's all part of the same sort of side here. I mean, you have to be able to. Here's a good tweet. I wanted to open up this one too. Let's look at this one right here. Yep. So I wanted to break down this one. Was pretty interesting here. Before we get to that one, let's see. Man. So much easier when Jeff's here. Then we look through the stuff, but I'm looking. I added a bunch of stuff, and I do not see my tweets here, and that is unfortunate. Let's see if this is it. Let me see. Here it is right here. So let's break down these two tweets right here. Let's do this. Anything going on, Chase? Bruce Willis. What is that in regards to? Is that Bruce Willis? Let's see. Yeah, if you hit the link that Sophie posted, yeah, unfortunately I don't have that up, but I did see that earlier. The Ripple case is no longer there. Nobody can find it. That's one other thing that I've seen. Haven't been a chance to investigate it myself. Unfortunately, I don't have. We don't get the links in here. We're unable to copy them and throw them in there. But I did see that. If we look at this, Eleanor Terret put this out there, which is pretty cool. Scoop. Turns out even the staff at the SEC are not confident they will win the case against Ripple. A source close to the SEC tells me, that being Eleanor Terret, that Hester Pierce has expressed privately she thinks the SEC will not get the outcome it's looking for. Translation, they're going to lose. That's what it looks like. What the outcome they're looking for was pillar of enforcement, a prerequisite to be able to go after everybody else in judgments, and enforcement. So a part of it could be that, one of the things we do know about Hester Pierce is the fact that she's very pro crypto. She has been. She always has been. Eli Roisman, before he left, another one. And that's another interesting story. He leaves, and all of a sudden, these notes are getting dredged up about meetings and stuff that apparently he was present at, just out of nowhere. Just like, that's weird, the timing. He leaves, he bails, he doesn't want to be part of it anymore. Really a holdover from the previous administration. But, I think one thing we'd be sad is if crypto mom Hester Pierce would call it quits. That would not be too good at all. And then we've got this one here. And this one here is from JayVTheGreat, also an OTC OG. But JV, I almost said JZ. JV right here says, no wonder the SEC. Well, let's play this here. So let's read this first. So this little bit says, ConsenSys, the Ethereum-based software company, recently acquired JP Morgan's Quorum. If you guys remember, JP Morgan issued a token. They called it Quorum. That was their blockchain. And ConsenSys, that's Lubin's company, they acquired JP Morgan's Quorum. The acquisition has raised many eyebrows from observers as they wonder why JP Morgan would sell their database network. ConsenSys acquired Quorum for an unknown amount of money. Interesting. However, JP Morgan subsequently made a strategic investment in ConsenSys that most likely canceled out. Or did it? Or why did they make a strategic investment in ConsenSys? Now, how do they know if that canceled itself out or not? That doesn't even make any sense to me. So ConsenSys goes ahead and acquires Quorum off of JP Morgan, and JP Morgan made a strategic investment in ConsenSys. That would mean ConsenSys gets win-win out of this thing. So what's in it for the JP Morgan? Now, if they're buying into ConsenSys or taking a piece of it, that makes a lot of sense. I'm not sure I see it cancel out here. Most likely, even if it exceeded the amount of money ConsenSys paid for Quorum, sounds strange to you, it's because it is. I do think it's strange, but I'm not necessarily sure it's strange for that reason. And this is what JayVTheGreat had said. No wonder the SEC doesn't go after anything ETH-based, because it's all running on JP Morgan's database. Hester Pierce, is this true? This question is not related to any ongoing investigations or pending litigations. And that's funny. That right there is pretty funny, JV, because he knows that he wants to make sure that it's not part of those. You know why? Because you'd be like, I'm sorry, I cannot handle any questions that are related to any ongoing litigation or investigation. So he took that away from her. Nope, it's not. Don't worry about it. It's not related. It's just a sure chance that it might be. And then we had this one here. Here's another bit that we'll read here. Let's put it up a little bit bigger there. And Quorum was a real attempt at making Ethereum technology stick in an industrial setting, said Martino, according to a Cointelegraph report. But it's being rehomed. And I really don't think there's going to be a lot of progress down the line from ConsenSys. From my point of view, I think they're mostly buying the brand and being able to just use Quorum trademark and intellectual assets from that point of view for marketing. JP Morgan sold Quorum because they didn't see any real value in it. If they did, they would have sold it. What may have encouraged JP Morgan to part ways? Again, I'm not sure if I agree with that assessment either, because there's a lot of speculation going on here. It's great that we're kind of going through it and reading it together, but I don't necessarily know if I agree with this. The ConsenSys would have sold it. Here we go. That they would have actually sold it. Well, why would they sell it? And again, how do we know what they're doing with it, or if they've done anything with it? Why would you go ahead and purchase something? Maybe that's what they're alluding to. Maybe they purchased something that was worthless, but I don't think so. I think there's some deeper meanings, deeper things going on here. And the whole idea that you either hear those names all the time, Goldman Sachs, or JP Morgan. And JP Morgan been around since forever. There does seem to be something a little bit weird here. And then it continues. Let's see, read this here. Come on, here we go. JP Morgan, one of the biggest companies ever. Oh my goodness. If JP Morgan, one of the biggest companies ever, cannot drive adoption, even when they have a great internal use case, you have to ask yourself why. And my answer to that is the technology is just fundamentally limited. And if you go talk to other large system integrators, large consultancies, you'll hear very, very similar things. So long as you don't have someone who holds a lot of the Ethereum tokens as the head of the blockchain for the company, you're going to find people say, we've tried using Ethereum. It just doesn't work. And it's funny how he's taking a little swipe there at Lubin when he says, as long as it's not somebody who's the head of the blockchain company, otherwise known as Lubin is the head of ConsenSys and certainly owns a lot of ETH there. Then we've got this one here. Ethereum doesn't work, just as Martino said. If you're talking to an individual that isn't an Ethereum maximalist or an individual with a large position in Ethereum, they're going to tell you that Ethereum doesn't work. An enterprise needs blockchain capable of handling tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of transactions per second. Ethereum blockchain just not able to provide that. But we keep hearing about ETH 2.0. 6 years into it, no sign of ETH 2.0. Now I hear it's coming. We've been hearing that for a long time, so I don't know if that's going to happen either. Let's see what else we have here. Frankie H-Bar XRP says she can't comment on pending litigation. Well, I mean, Brad Garlinghouse won't comment on pending litigation anyway. It's just, you really shouldn't. Anything you say can and will be held against you at some point in a court of law or whatever, but it's just not good form to do that. Whether Hester Peirce agrees with Chairman Gensler or not, it's not a good look. You don't want to have that stuff where she's going to go out there and she says all the right things. Look, I'm pro crypto. She put out the safe harbor, giving crypto companies 3 years to potentially become legit, become decentralized. And it wasn't really that welcome, but that's fine. She doesn't report. She's a commissioner. Her boss is not Gary Gensler. She's free to do what she wants, but to be respectful to the agency, it's the best way to go. You're not going to comment on pending litigation. Every attorney will tell you, if you're a public figure, do not comment on public litigation. So as much as we hate hearing that, and I know we don't like hearing that, it's just the way it is. And unfortunately, there's nothing necessarily really that wrong with it. Something else that started bubbling up. So we had all this breakdown with the Ukraine scenario, right? We had all this stuff going on. And then all of a sudden, something else bubbled up today, and that is all of this hoo-ha about Biden, who's going to sign an executive order on crypto this week. It says U.S. president will reportedly sign a long-anticipated executive order directed towards furthering crypto regulation in the country. Now, what's odd about this whole thing too to me is I don't necessarily understand what is the executive order going to say? Have a meeting, get together. Come on, Congress. Come on, man. Come on, Congress, get together. And it kind of says it right here. It says, while the order is not yet fully understood, it's been speculated that an individual authority will be given new regulatory oversight powers. Now, as far as I know, I don't know that that's going to be something that would not be challenged in the court of law, because I don't believe the only one that can really make law and legislation is the legislative branch of the U.S. government, which is the House of Representatives, and which makes up Congress along with the Senate. That's who goes ahead. Yeah, the House Representatives, controls the purse strings, the spending, and then you've got, a bill can originate in either side, but has to be signed off. Then it goes to the president to sign it. So that's the part I don't really see that might not get challenged down the road. Crypto regulation in the U.S. has slowly ratcheted up in recent years with greater reporting requirements placed on exchanges. So there was a report by Reuters cited a person familiar with the matter, which always has me on guard. Cited a person. Now, it's different when Terret says a source because she's been spot on. She's media. I think she's more of a trusted source, and she's called some things or had some scoops in the past which materialized. But when they go, I cited a person familiar with the matter, well, that's about as detached as you can possibly get. So again, I'm not 100% sold on this whole executive order nonsense. I don't know if this is going to be anything or not. And we have, what else do we have here? Other things we have. Now, in savage trolling, epic trolling news right here, I like this one. I like this tweet right here. Sometimes you got to give it to Pompliano. Now, Pompliano and Schiff, the guy who hates Bitcoin, goes on and on about how great gold is. Check this tweet out right here. Anthony Pompliano tweeted out, gold just hit 2,000. Congrats, Schiff. Now, that's funny for a number of reasons, but, gold was teetering around 1,800, under, over, so it hit 2,000. Well, I think we know that there's a lot of circumstances going on right now that probably are pushing a lot of people into gold, pushing the price up. It hit 2,000. A little bit of a troll there when Bitcoin's up massively on the year. So anyway, I thought that was pretty funny and notable. And then we have what else do we have here? Yeah, so let's why don't we jump into our freedom segment here? I want to get your thoughts on this. Certainly have my thoughts, but I wanted to get your thoughts here. And David Schwartz, sometimes when I don't agree with him, it kind of looks like this. And let's see, where is the tweet? Let's see. Okay, so Terret put this tweet out right here. Actually, we kind of have to, well, I don't know if I want to unpack too much of this. I'll go through it pretty quickly here. But Ari Cohn said, basically corrected her, saying the U.S. didn't ban RT, which is the news agency out of Russia. It stands for Russia Today. Terret said, really? And you're an attorney calling people names? Story. RT's biggest distributor. DirecTV dropped the channel earlier this week from the Hollywood Reporter. And Ari Cohn said, well, first of all, DirecTV isn't the U.S. Check. Because she said she used the wrong spelling. She used YOUR, and it's apostrophe RE for UR, as in, again, calls her out for being a dumbass. And Terret goes on to say, go to your platforms on your television set or Roku, whom also removed RT. Google publicly announced it removed RT and other platforms. You can gaslight, but facts are facts. It is censorship. I do call people names if you choose to do that. It says more about you. Bless you anyway. Okay, so let's now, none other than David Schwartz weighed in on this. And I want to get your thoughts on this, but he says, it boggles my mind that you can't understand the difference between censorship and freedom. Okay, so we'll read through it and then we'll kind of unpack it a little bit. A government suppressing speech is censorship. Okay, I agree with that. A private media company enforcing its editorial policy to not spread what it considers to be government propaganda is freedom of the press. Okay, so I think a lot of this is mismatched, personally. Again, I'll jump in here to see if anybody's got any thoughts on it. You guys want to go ahead and throw your thoughts in the comments there? I'll throw them up there and feature them as we go on. But first of all, I believe that if you suppress speech, yeah, it is censorship, right? Free speech. You have the you have the right in the U.S. at least. You're guaranteed free speech, and that means you can go on a street corner and say, I love Joe Biden. I hate Joe Biden, right? Either way, you like or you hate. You can go off and say almost anything you want without repercussion. Now, in some countries, you do that. You get locked up, and then nobody just got transferred somewhere. No one knows where you actually end up. You end up somewhere, but no one knows. Sometimes you disappear off the face of the earth. But this part is what I'm having a difficult time with. He says, can't understand the difference between censorship and freedom. Okay, so when we look at censorship, when somebody's censored, Somebody says the wrong thing or says things that aren't approved. Now, I look at this as being more approved narratives, right? If you have a way of thinking, a come from, and let's suppose people, if you break it down to something really silly, there's a lot of people say like, no, nobody likes chocolate ice cream. No, I love vanilla ice cream. But the official narrative is chocolate ice cream, and well, the other one is disinformation. And I always get really worried when I hear fact checkers say, well, fact checkers weighed in on it. And the fact checkers say, first of all, the fact checkers are about as corrupt as can be. You look at who's paying them. You always follow the money, and you realize it's just a giant circle of incest and despair there. And then he comes on to say that if a private media is enforcing its editorial policy, okay, so sometimes editorial policies are, no personal attacks, or you can't, certain things you don't want to say that borders on, threatening language or being physical with somebody, right? Threatening someone's life. Okay, got it. That's what a lot of these break down to. But the idea that spread what it considers to be, not spread what it considers to be government propaganda is freedom of the press. No, that's not freedom of the press, Mr. David Schwartz. Freedom of the press is to say anything you want. That's freedom of the press. Freedom of the press says if I want to put an article that was written and researched and has a lot of facts in it, and if you want to go take your fact checkers and dispute the facts, fair enough. But if I post said article on a platform and you deplatform or you erase it because you think government propaganda, and why is it government propaganda? Why not just propaganda in sense? But usually the official narratives and the stuff that gets banned, it used to be that if you didn't agree with something, you would just say like, I think that's stupid. You're like, all right. A lot of people think, well, flat earthers, like, come on, man. Everyone knows the earth's round, right? I mean, really? Now, what do you do? I'm going to deplatform them. You're not going to be allowed on this platform. You're not on Twitter. You can't be on YouTube because that's just stupid. Well, you can go out there and you can Google a lot of this stuff. Go just Google flat earth videos. There's tons of stuff. You're like, okay, so what's the moon? Is the moon round or is the moon flat too? Is it a pancake? And how does the sun work? Oh, every question you ever had about flat earthers, what they call them, but no one's up in arms about that because everyone's like, well, if you believe in that, cool. If you don't believe in it, but why is it different if you go against a certain way of thought of a platform? And I call these thought leadership, where they have a certain come from when it comes to what they think about something, has really nothing to do with all. Do you want to say, well, no, I don't believe in that? Now, what's funny about that, things that were considered to be conspiratorial just 6 or 8 months ago are starting to come out as, that's interesting. A lot of things that I've been saying for the last year and a half, 2 years. I was a crazy person, nut job, right? To friends and family, whatever. And all of a sudden, well, that's interesting. And I forgot who famously said, a lie travels around the world, has already traveled around the world while the truth is putting its shoes on. The truth always takes a little bit of time to go out there. But again, who cares if somebody says something? Are you worried about influencing people? Are we really worried about that many people? That, let's suppose more than 60% of the population in the world thinks that the world is flat. Does anybody care? So why are they so threatened with going against the official narrative when somebody just has a statement, not hurting anybody? It rarely goes against the terms of service. These are the kind of things that I cannot figure out. I want to see if anybody had any comments in here. Let's see. Chi-Town's in here. Sophie. Liz Taylor's in here. Jim D. Schwartz. All right, so there you go right there. Schwartz is correct. Maybe bits and pieces. Yeah, if you're a private company, you can do it, but it's not I don't believe it's for the reasons that he says. I don't believe. Liz Taylor says he said a couple statements lately that have me rethinking liking him. Look, I've always been a person where I don't have to agree with your politics. I don't have to agree with your religion. I don't have to agree with anything you say. If you do something that's cool, I can admire you from that standpoint. For example, you go see a band and they start talking about politics, and whether you're for it or not, I didn't go to listen to you talk about politics. I came to listen to music. With David Schwartz is he's funny as hell and he's brilliant as hell, and what he does and what he contributes is brilliant. I don't always agree with the stuff he talks about, and I've gotten into it with him. We kind of have some spats. I don't think we've ever showed him here, but we've kind of had some back and forth things every once in a while, and he's had it with a lot of people. Look, that right there, that is healthy discord. Yeah, you have a contrary opinion. I think that's very good at this. So you disagree, you talk about it, you have a conversation. You don't just ban somebody and say, we shut it down. No, we can't have that. We can't have people thinking that. That's just crazy. If you guys are in the if you guys are in Texas, I wanted to show this up here, right here. Look at this right here. This is Ripple. If you're attending South by Southwest, join us March 11th through the 13th to discover NFT capabilities in the XRPL. Learn about our $250 million creator fund, chat with our friends Mint and XRPL punks, and learn about what other creators are doing on the ledger. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and throw this in the chat right there, but it's called the Ripple. It's called the Ripple House. And I'll throw it down in there. But if you guys are in Austin, Texas, where South by Southwest happens, you guys can check some of this out right here. The Ripple House, you just simply go in there and register. Join us in an immersive experience, celebrates creators, developers, and crypto enthusiasts. Over 3 days, we're going to host experts in the crypto industry, speak on relevant topics while providing networking opportunities. And so that's kind of a cool thing. So if you guys are down there, you want to travel there, go ahead and register. You just click on this, throw your information in there, and pre-register for the event. Wanted to throw that out there. Make sure you guys were aware of that. And Jeff put something in here that I thought was kind of funny. Boom, 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 boom. Oh yeah, this is a good one too. You actually put a couple good things in here. Let's see, where is it? Oh goodness, I'm looking for it here. So the comment Jeff put in here is, Chip, your buddy from Apple is a Bitcoin maxi. That's what he put in there. And there's this story right here. And this one is from none other than Steve Wozniak. They call him Woz. He was the co-creator of the Apple company and computer, the original Apple computer. And Bitcoin Magazine says, breaking, Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak is the only pure gold cryptocurrency. So that may be true. It may be the only pure gold cryptocurrency, but is it the fastest? Is it the most relevant? Is it the most liquid? No, it's not. We heard that from Garlinghouse in that interview as well, that the liquidity is not there. And here we go right here. Let's see. Jeff put this comment, but it doesn't seem to match up to the article. Oh boy. Let's see what this is here. Congressional leaders, this is from the DeFi Education Fund. Congressional leaders should stop speculating without evidence about how criminals could leverage cryptocurrencies to escape U.S. sanctions. Instead, they should voice their support for the crypto industry's already extensive sanctions, compliance efforts, and help make them better. Oh, that's true. But I do believe it's a little bit easier to chat about the negative, right? Bring up the negative, talk about the negative, like, oh yeah, we'll just chat more about the negative things. Seems to be a little bit easier to do that. And let's see, what else do we have here? And there's a story right here, this tweet. This is from BTC Charlie. And if you look at the avatar, it's Charlie from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, or Willy Wonka. I honestly have no doubt that Bitcoin will go to $1 million at some point. I've produced a complex model in Excel to support it. I hope you enjoy it. This is it right here. Current price, the future price. So there you go. That's another little funny right there for you. Yeah, it's complex. You know, it's got 4 cells. And if you're listening to this, just basically says current Bitcoin price, 39,000, future price, 1 million. And there you have it. And what else do you really need other than that? Let's face it. There's not too much more you need. I'm going to go through the comments here, see what everybody has in closing. I'm looking through the comments, a lot of conversations going on. Jim D says, I think the new Glint Gold-based credit card is a brilliant way to get off national fiat currency and bypass the whole insular national banking system. Interesting. Then we have David Hoffer with us. Yeah, with a nice comment. You're looking good today, Simon. Appreciate that. Simon. Yeah, Simon and Kev is out tonight But again, I'll just remind you guys, if you want more content like this or not, and every show is a little bit different. Sometimes it's all different stuff. A lot of times we have a pretty solid focus on XRP here. We get into a lot of different cryptocurrencies, even metaverse stuff, and even regulation. So if you want more of that, go ahead, like, subscribe, click that notification bell. But other than that, that's all I have for tonight. Be back again tomorrow night with some more cryptocurrency news and breakdowns. Guys, we'll see you on the next one. Chip out.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.